everybody, this is Miriam from Keto My Way. Just showing you the beginnings of the bone broth. I wanted to roast the meat. I was going to fry the meat, but I'm going to slow roast it instead. And what you see in there are the bones. That is the chuck roast that I got. Organic carrot, not peeled. Onions, not peeled. Organic celery there. And then the red stuff you see is that palm oil that I told you I just got. So we'll see what flavor that gives you. And then I wanted to show you I have a roast function that I've never used before. So let's try it. I was going to do a slow roast anyway, so I'm going to do 300. I don't know what makes the roast different. I mean the roast function, but it's under the convection function. So, you know, who knows? All right, so I'm going to put that in for a couple of hours. I'll check it in about an hour and a half. I'm not going to cover it because the whole point is I do want things to brown. Hi, well, it's been a little bit over an hour, so let's check. Ooh, that looks nice and roasted. Okay, well, you saw the amount of meat and veggies I have. I usually make my soup in a crock pot, but I had to pull out the big guns. This is just a huge pot. It's the biggest one we have. And what I'm going to add to everything I'm taking out of the roasting pan is I'm going to add fresh parsley, fresh bay leaves, some Celtic sea salt, a third of a cup of apple cider vinegar, I'll talk about that in a minute, and some more fresh celery chopped, and I'll put in some pepper. Here's the pot loaded, and you can see, let me see, you can see how nice and brown the meat is, and that palm oil made a beautiful like red fat. And that's everything. So that's the celery, parsley, bay leaves, carrots, onions. Usually I put more onions, but because I roasted the one I had, I'm sure it would be flavorful enough. Then I'm going to add this mushroom broth that I showed you the other day I got, and I'll fill the rest with water and then cover it and turn it on. And what somebody told me on Keto Evangelist Kitchen, which I highly recommend, said if you want to get the collagen, you have to keep it just below a simmer. It's when you come to a full boil that, you know, sometimes you make it and it's not very gel-like. And if you want the jelly, you have to keep a really slow simmer. And that's what's behind the cider vinegar. You can use cider vinegar or lemon juice, but that's what draws out the nutrients and the collagen. And I usually just put a couple of tablespoons, but this was more than double what I usually have. So I used a third of a cup. You don't taste the vinegar in the broth at all, but you need it to draw out the nutrients. So I will check in later when I have it just at a simmer. I came back for a second just to show you all that fatty goodness just from adding the cold water. So that was the fat of the palm oil and the fat that came out of the meat and the fact that it's colored. This broth is just going to be amazing. All right, here's the slow simmer, and this is actually almost too much. Like what you see right here, that's probably where I want it instead of what you see going here. And so what I did is I took the lid off. When I took the lid off to show you this video, I'm going to leave it off for a little while. And I'm actually going to shut it off. All right, I'm going to shut it off and let it slow down a little bit, not stop cooking, but when I see that middle bubble looking more like the bubble here on the side, I will turn it on low and cover it again. So that's a slow simmer.
This is a leek
A lot of people have never cooked with them before, so I want to show you what they even look like. It looks like an overgrown green onion, but the skin of it is very tough. It's not tender like a green onion. The first thing you want to do is cut off all of the green part. When I first started using leeks, I didn't want to do that because it seemed very wasteful, but it's a necessary step. Leeks are also very dirty and very sandy because of the way they grow in the earth. So you want to cut the leek in half lengthwise and then cut off the bottom. Once that's done, you want to pull off the outer layer of what's left after cutting the green part off, and you can see there's dirt. You can leave it here and wash through the layers if you're going to do something like roasting, but I'm going to slice it and then wash it because that's the way I'm going to use it in the soup. Wash well, and you can see the sand at the bottom of the bowl. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 rinses and draining to get all the sand out, but this leek isn't that bad. If you are going to saute them like I am, you want to dry them first. If they are just going back into a sauce, you can leave them without drying them first. Okay, guys, this is day 2 of the video. With all the vegetables, it was maybe cooked down to there. You can see the line. And when I strained out all the vegetables, this is what was left. You can leave it here after a final straining and then just have the bone broth. And you can also refrigerate it and take off the top layer of fat. But I'm going to keep it like this and make soup out of it. And here's everything ready to go. Here's the chopped leeks. And I actually chopped the stems of the chard. Here are cremini mushrooms. I always called them criminy, like Jiminy Cricket, and my husband just laughed. And here is the chard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to saute this, and I may add a little celery to this actually. So I'm going to saute this and this in a fat. I haven't decided yet. Maybe ghee. No, maybe coconut oil. I'll saute it in coconut oil. And then I'll add the chard, and then I will strain out the broth into a clean pot. And there's the meat that came from the broth. It doesn't have any flavor, and I said, well, you know, at least I'm getting the nutrients of the meat. I'll put some barbecue sauce on it. And then what I did is I posted in Keto Evangelist Kitchen, and they said, no, all the nutrition and everything went into the bone broth. That's the whole point of cooking it for like 20 hours. And so it saddens me because I'm not a wasteful person, which is part of my eating problem because I want to finish everything. But I may just make a decision to toss this, taking not the meat, but taking the chard, the mushrooms, the leeks. I'll add a little bit of celery and pour it all into a fresh pot. Here it is frying, and I'm going to come back and show you when it's cooked down. Okay, cooked down nicely, and I'm going to add the chard. The chard is cooked down, and we're ready to add the strained broth back in. Here's my vegetable soup now that I'm going to cook for about an hour. And because I made the broth in such a huge pot instead of my crock pot, I have all this left over. So what I'm going to do is just strain it out and put it in the fridge, and let's see the collagen in there. And here's the finished product. You have to see if I like it or not. This is totally different how I've ever made bone broth. Ooh, not bad. The palm oil is a different flavor than if I had roasted with ghee or butter or even coconut oil, but it's very, very delicious. And I also bought some zucchini noodles. You say, why didn't you make them? Stored, wiped out of zucchini. I don't know what went on, but they had a box of zucchini needles. noodles in the produce section. So I'm actually going to fry some of those up and add them to the soup. Let me see. Oh, just as good with the second spoon. Anyway, this is Keto My Way. I hope you enjoyed this cooking video, and just have a great day. Facebook, Keto My Way, please join.